let's talk about Venom. I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, I'm not the biggest fan of the current Tom Hardy production Venom. Out in theaters now, check your local listings, bring a friend. I think there were a lot of very funny scenes, but all in all, I kinda think it sucked. But I don't think it had to. One of the biggest problems it had going for it was, of course, no Spider-Man. Which, I don't know if that counts as a spoiler, but Spider-Man's not in this movie. Spoiler. By the way, there's going to be a lot of spoilers. I'm talking about a movie that came out this weekend. That tends to happen. So let's talk about what Venom did and how it did it. Venom's plot surrounds the discovery of this living Play-Doh known as symbiotes, alien life forms from the stars. So what do the people who discover this decide to do? They decide to slap it on people and things and whatever, because it's goop. It's space goop, and we know it's symbiotes because we called it that, so it must have symbiosis. And when I say that this happens fast, I mean it happens fast. This whole movie takes place within the course of a few weeks, maybe. And they go from literally getting these things to Earth to, alright, put it on a rabbit. Okay, homeless people. Find some homeless people. We gotta see what this is doing. All this is going on, and then we cut over to Eddie Brock, intrepid reporter, whom we are told is an intrepid reporter. You don't really need to see it. He does an interview or two, and then you know he's a good reporter. He's good at his job. He has a fiance, a life. He's happy. He had a thing in New York, but that was a misunderstanding. Haha, wink nudge. So Eddie decides to do some digging into this malicious life foundation, whom he's been told is a malicious life foundation. He does not spend much time investigating. He has a hunch and goes so far as to say that he has no leads. 0 leads. So what I'm saying is Eddie is good at reporting things. Eddie breaks in and he finds evidence that they're doing weird human fusion stuff. He gets brought in by this female doctor who suddenly has a conscience. And it's the same actress who plays Mona Lisa Saperstein from Parks and Rec, so I could not take her serious the whole time. All I saw was, "Daddy, buy me another car." Eddie gets out, he's got some weird stuff happening, and there's a voice popping in his head that makes him want to eat things, especially living things. And of course he realizes it's the symbiote that's bonded with him. But one of the things that throws me off the whole time is very quickly in the movie, Venom becomes a more balanced human being than Eddie is. Like, he straight up understands the nuances of human interaction and talks about, you should tell her the truth. When will you have this chance again? And it's like, dude, you've been here for a week and this is only the second time you bond with a person. Why are you giving me life advice? And again, that's the half of Venom that just wants to eat people. That's the anti-hero. Yes, villain. Whatever. So we have a couple action scenes where Venom shows off his new, completely non-spider related powers. You got your wall crawling, that's an alien symbiote thing. Web swinging. No wait, he doesn't swing on webs, he swings on goop. And generally he's a badass. There's a fight scene that is fantastic in this movie where this army of SWAT guards is surrounding them in a lobby. There's a couple genuine moments where they're like chatting between each other and it's sassy and it's awesome and I love it. And I wish there was more of that in the movie with restrictions. And then occasionally Venom goes away and Eddie's back, but he's sweatier, and that's weird. Venom rapidly exposes that the symbiote's goal is to go back and get more symbiotes and bring them and take over Earth, and every single plot point in this movie is delivered in a single line of dialogue, just all over the places. There's no keeping up. If it were more complex a story, it'd be really hard to keep up. So Venom decides to help Eddie stop the more evil symbiote riot, and the 3 other symbiotes... Wait, hold on. They promised us 3 other symbiotes. All of the symbiotes died. I guess they saved on visual effects. So just Riot then, who is a silver Venom. He's a silver Venom. Riot merges with the evil bad guy who we've known this entire time was an evil bad guy because he kidnaps homeless people and shit. And then they have a big old symbiote fight, which it basically looks like if a Michael Bay Transformers movie had robots exclusively made of, like, mercury. Just goop flying everywhere. They fight, there's a spaceship, and Venom pays the ultimate sacrifice of surviving completely to star in a sequel that's likely never coming. Who am I kidding? Sony's gonna milk this thing as hard as they can. Like they tried to do to The Amazing Spider-Man 2. That worked well. All that's left is to pay Woody Harrelson whatever exorbitant amount of marijuana it costs to get him to cameo in a film. Oh, he's been sober for like a year now. And that's Venom. It was a genuinely entertaining film, and it was just a bad film. But I really don't think it had to be. So let's look at what we could have done different. When a superhero movie comes out, there's usually at least some source material that they're pulling from as an inspiration. Like Thor Ragnarok borrowed a whole bunch of stuff from Planet Hulk. And Iron Man 3 borrowed a whole bunch of content from the Extremis series. And Captain America Winter Soldier was from Captain America Winter Soldier. Civil War. But we don't look for everything to be exact, because you can't do that. Civil War in the comics was hundreds and hundreds of heroes because there was this big, vast world. For the Civil War storyline in the movies, they had to work with what they had. And I think it turned out really well. But finding those right ways to adapt things while using homage without totally steamrolling all the lore is a careful balance that a lot of nerds look for. So again, working off the fact that Sony decided to make a movie with Venom that had nothing to do with Spider-Man and wouldn't ever have anything to do with Spider-Man, let's look at what they could have done. My original pitch that I made a few years back was that the only good way to do Venom without Spider-Man would be jump straight to Flash Thompson and play out the Agent Venom series. This is a storyline where Venom had been brought in and kind of tamed by the US government and was used like a super soldier serum. But that would take a lot of changes, and we're trying to build off of what's already there and filmed. So let's start with the evil corporation and the symbiotes. The whole movie already takes place within just a few weeks, so what if we stretch that out a little bit? This would give the Life Foundation a much longer amount of time to figure out how the symbiotes work, give them a reason to actually name them the symbiotes, and we can give a better reason for the names of the symbiotes. How many times am I going to have to say the word symbiote in this video? So in the movie, we of course have Venom, and Riot, and Lasher, Toxin. And all of these are really solid names for, like, monsters. These are space aliens, and they're calling themselves those things, and it just feels weird. What if the Life Foundation started doing these tests on the symbiotes, learned that they could bond with creatures, and then they started the trials on criminals and ex-soldiers or stuff, but really aggressive, seedy types. This would let us go a bit more into the actual canon of the symbiotes from the comics. See, in the comics, the symbiotes have gotten a much more storied background than they used to have. Originally created as a weapon out in space by this one god killer guy, it's a long story, the symbiotes eventually bonded with noble people, and they kind of gained some of those virtues. They decided to become a species that sent out their kind to merge with noble warriors and help defend the galaxy. Maybe guarding the galaxy?
Ooga chaka, ooga, ooga, ooga.
So the symbiotes weren't all that bad. They just would get tainted when they bonded with a negative personality. In the comics, Venom was already a little before he encountered Peter, but then it was Eddie Brock's negativity towards Spider-Man and towards Peter that drove them to be such a good, angry, evil team. So what if we played off of that a bit and found that the symbiotes were mostly getting their aggression and the anger from the people they were getting paired with? You know, insane people, very militaristic people, criminals. You could point out that while the Venom symbiote, and these are all code names, because humans gave them code names, they didn't choose these very silly basic names for themselves, because why in the world would they? They're aliens. Venom was high performing, but didn't bond well with people. Riot can basically ace everything and was very straining, but he was the real warrior of the group. And maybe there's a red one that shows even higher levels, but also kills whoever they bond with. Woody. I say that it's weird that these symbiotes would call themselves these weird names, because it's like, they're aliens, why would they do that? But then again, Taserface exists. Taserface! So the Life Foundation is working on their super soldier program, which is basically what it is, let's be honest. You can still have those great moments that the movie actually lands really well.
Eddie.
What?
We hunger, Eddie.
Alright, we'll get tacos.
We want the neighbor's cat, Eddie.
That kind of stuff genuinely made me laugh in the theater. I liked it a lot. But the internet needs to stop shipping them. It's not okay. So Venom has his change of heart, and he wants to help stop Riot's plan, because at this point he's infected the evil dude everyone knew would become the evil dude, to go and bring the symbiotes back. And it gives you an actual reason why these characters would act the way that they are. Eddie wants to stop them. He's driven by it. And Venom feeds off of that, and he decides to help. As opposed to Eddie basically giving up and Venom being the one to be like, no, I like Earth now. I can't let them destroy Earth because I live here now. For absolutely no reason. And then let's see the other symbiotes. If you have that extra time and we see them maybe have bonded with someone else, we can see just little glimpses of the things they can do that make them unique. Toxin can shoot spikes at a thing. Lasher uses his tentacles to like rip a dummy's head off or something. Phage can... What does Phage do? Spike arms. Okay. Phage has spike arms. The 90s weren't the best time for comics, okay? And we can still save on VFX by not having them in the big climactic finale. And, you know, maybe a specimen disposal system can be triggered by Eddie to kill off the other evil symbiotes, but Riot escapes. And can we... Alright, can we agree to something just from here on out in superhero films? Stop making the final boss the same color as the protagonist. I get that he's kind of silver and goopy, where Venom is black and goopy, but he's so boring. And this is another place I think there could have been a really solid change that just got dumped. So, Evil McBadguy pushes the doctor who helped Eddie get into here, into a tank with a symbiote. And dang, that sucks for her. And then later in the movie, it just comes back to, okay, she's dead, and the symbiote that was with her died. And that's kind of how they explain away that all the other symbiotes died. Really boring. So what if Riot is defeated, and then out comes Scream? Now, Scream is cool. Instead of a gray on black fight where half of the time you can't see what's going on. We could have had a character that we actually had, compassion for, suddenly fully taken over by a symbiote that has been consumed by anger and evil, and we could have seen a unique, colorful fight that really stands out in the scene. Instead, we get Goop Wars 2018. Is it Venom? Is it Riot? I don't know. 'Cause Riot is just so boring. And this isn't just a problem with Sony or Venom. It's a problem across all of the early Marvel origin films and lots of movies in general. You have these characters that have a particular trait, and then at the end of the movie, they just kind of fight somebody who does the same thing. Look, the Hulk is fighting Big Spiky Hulk. Oh, Iron Man is fighting Bigger Iron Man. Captain America's an American super soldier who's gonna fight the Nazi super soldier. But he had a red skull, so you know he the bad guy. At least the Edward Norton Hulk movie was more than just like Hulk running from tanks. No, he fought his super dad, didn't he? The Eric Bana movie was weird. But in the end, I get that we can't always have a big connected universe. It's important to have a few standalone movies here and there. I just kind of wish this one was more than Wrath of the Space Slimes, but one of them is a sassy buddy cop. Also, why in the Sam Hill did Annie think that her doctor boyfriend was concerned she might be cheating on him? A black living goop thing just exploded out of her ex-fiance, and it was crawling around his room, and here she is like, I just want you to know nothing's going on between us. And then Venom titties, which I liked. Let's be honest. This whole movie was made for Venom titties. Wasn't it? Wasn't it? Oh shit, I just get why the internet is shipping them so hard. She says that Venom wanted her to kiss him to do the... Maybe the ship's supposed to happen. But that's just my idea. I know a lot of people really liked this movie, and you're allowed to. At the end of the day, movies and books and all kinds of media, it's subjective. We all get different stuff out of the same things. I just want to make sure that when a comic property is being used, it's making some movement, especially knowing that this is basically reset the clock on any possible incorporation of Venom either into the MCU or into usage that is worth our time. This went a little longer than I thought, but I hope you all enjoyed it, and please feel free to tell me why I'm wrong in the comments. I know that you will, and I love you.
I hunger, Eddie.